The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
Last week, all we could talk about was Marvel's Phases 5 and 6, the 50 billion films that are coming out, and the endless TV shows that are never gonna stop until you're dead. But this week, the story's a little different. It's all about the mighty Marvel slump. And it's not just fans reading into it, this comes from the Wall Street Journal. But before we get into that, folks, make sure you hit that thumbs up button to tell everyone you like world-class bullshitters, and make sure you're subscribed to WCBS for more awesome content. Let's put this out there. Marvel Phase 4 has sucked. Beginning in 2021 with Black Widow, we are in the worst slump of the Marvel Cinematic Universe since its existence. Now, some of the more masochistic fans have gone to see all of these movies, me, but I've noticed something. They're not as good as they used to be. And it's not just me, or else these movies would be doing much better. Now, for context, Phase 4 includes Black Widow, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, The Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder, and Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And it also features such rousing TV shows as WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki Season 1, What If, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk Attorney at Law, Untitled Halloween Special, and Guardians of the Galaxy The Holiday Special. Phase 4 is not even over, folks, and I'm tired of it already. Shit, I've been tired of it since 2021, because Marvel's best days are probably behind it. So an interesting article dropped over on the Wall Street Journal detailing some of Marvel's big financial troubles, and we're going to check that out today because there's a much different picture painted 1 week after Comic-Con. The future's not so bright, we gotta wear shades anymore. So let's take a moment to take a step back and look into what's actually going on with Marvel. Since Disney acquired Marvel in 2009, the studio has produced 25 superhero films that have grossed a total of $25 billion worldwide, making it one of the highest earning film studios in Hollywood history. But since the beginning of 2021, the average global box office gross for the 6 films produced by Marvel has fallen to $773.6 million, roughly half of the $1.5 billion average of the previous 6 films. Most special effects heavy superhero action films cost hundreds of millions of dollars to produce and hundreds of millions more to market, which raises the bar for the studios like Marvel to generate a profit. Some of Marvel's most recent films, including 2021's Eternals, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and Black Widow, have stuck out as major flops, at least by the lofty standards of Marvel movies' previous box office performances. So I ran into some garbage on Twitter, what's new, it is a cesspool after all, and people didn't like our take on Shang-Chi. Well, guess what, we weren't wrong. Critical reception of the film has suffered as well. According to Rotten Tomatoes, a website that tracks movie reviews, the last 6 Marvel movies averaged a 75% approval rating compared to the 88.5% for the previous 6. Wall Street analysts say recharging the cinematic pipeline should be a high priority for Disney chief executive Bob Chapek, who just had his contract renewed for 2.5 more years. Disney stock is down 32% this year. The company is slated to report earnings August 10th. Well, folks, make sure you join us on August 10th for the news here on World Class Bullshitters. One of the biggest questions about Disney is what is the outlook for the movie business? Morgan Stanley analyst Benjamin Sorbine said, theatrical releases help build the franchise that drive a lot of the business. For years after they are released, Marvel and Star Wars films go on to be reliable revenue sources, living on as merchandise, theme park attractions, and subscriptions to flagship Disney Plus services. Mr. Swinburne said Mr. Chapek needs to reassure investors and fans that there are exciting and profitable things coming in the franchises, and line up major talent to produce them, he added. Keeping the Marvel machine churning is doubly important now because Disney's Lucasfilm studio, which produces Star Wars films and shows, doesn't have any movies near completion over the next year. Disney has steered Star Wars content towards its Disney Plus service, a strategy that has yielded some hits like The Mandalorian, but no box office receipts. Superhero fatigue could also explain some of the theatrical rut. Public opinion research company Morning Consult found a greater share of United States adults were tired of those movies than in 2018. Then a younger Gen Z audience were less interested in overall comic book superheroes and the dress-up trend among superfans known as cosplay. We're definitely starting to see some cracks in the armor here, said Adam Epstein, Morning Consult senior editor. I don't think it's going to force Disney to overhaul its entire superhero industrial complex overnight, but it's a trend that is likely to become more pronounced over time as younger people gain more purchasing power. Which is interesting because Marvel and Disney have really skewed younger. Look at Star Wars for a second. That show definitely skewed younger. Now, speaking of Obi-Wan, I have it on good authority that the show was shown to a younger test audience than usual, which they didn't like it. So that market research is responsible for some of the zanier moments of Obi-Wan, like young Leia running around being chased by goons that are like a cartoon. Marvel has a new influx of young superheroes, teenagers, children, all this other stuff that most people really don't care. And so according to this article, which has information to back it up from reputable sources, The young generation doesn't like this shit. So Marvel, Disney, Star Wars, all those people, just Disney, honestly, they're chasing down the young audience. They're chasing down the women audience. They're chasing down the diverse audience, but they're pushing out the one guaranteed audience to keep the lights on, the fans. Every article about fandom and fandom and fandom that they want to tear the fandom down, let's replace the word fandom with consumer base. The toxic consumer base? It's funny how overused the word toxic truly is. Oh, this is a toxic environment. No, Karen, you're just a bitch. Oh my God, this is such a toxic restaurant. No, Karen, you're just a bitch. Oh my God, this is such a toxic planet. No, Karen, you're just an alien. You can call it schadenfreude because there's a little bit of joy in my voice when I talk about the Marvel slump. Now, I am a comic book fan. Hell, I'm a comic book artist. I dedicated my life to this craft because I love the stories of Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, Daredevil, countless other characters. I've been inspired in more ways than I can ever count here on this channel, and that's why I do art myself. And it always bothers me when guys like me, that all we want to do is go watch these movies, buy the comics, buy the toys, buy the shirts, call it athletics. We just want to buy the stuff and have a good time. But for the last couple of years, we've been called everything in the book, and now we're just not showing up. Add that to the fact that these movies absolutely suck in comparison. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but most of these movies were dead on arrival. Let's look at Black Widow. I can't really remember much about it. It took place before Endgame. She was still alive. I didn't care. Shang-Chi. That wasn't that bad of a movie. I really don't have a lot of bad things to say about Shang-Chi. It just wasn't great. The Eternals is dog shit. It is the worst Marvel movie I've ever seen. It is worse than Captain Marvel. It is worse than literally any MCU anything. It is a film that was sold on diversity and ethnicity and gay cast characters and all this other stuff, but nobody really liked that movie. It's a flop. According to the Wall Street Journal, the last 3 movies were fucking flops. That shit cost a lot of money, and movies are, 2.5 times minimum their budget to break even? Alright, well, let's use that metric and see how profitable these movies truly are. Spider-Man No Way Home was a great movie. I really don't have anything bad to say about it. I even own it on 4K. And don't tell anybody, but I'm going to get the Hot Toy and the Mafex and the SH figure arts of Tobey Maguire because he's the best Spider-Man. Underneath it all, Marvel has just provided a bad slate of films and an uninteresting slate of TV shows. I know the pandemic is to blame, but I find it interesting that the pandemic usually only pops up in articles about Disney properties underperforming. When Lightyear failed, they tried to say that the pandemic was responsible for X, Y, and Z. But let's talk about one film that I finally fucking saw, and that's Top Gun Maverick, which kicked ass, and it's kind of awesome in many different ways, but it's also showing that people will go out the movie theaters. I'm so tired of the narrative, the pandemic, it killed everything, COVID killed theaters. No! Spider-Man made almost $2 billion. No, Top Gun made over $1 billion. People will go out to see good properties. Just because Disney is the king of everything doesn't mean they put out good shit. People don't like what they put out. I don't like what they put out at Marvel. For God's sakes, it's not hard to please a guy like me. I was so jazzed back in the day that Thor, holy shit, that's his hammer. I didn't even need to see the movie. Iron Man 2's post-credit sequence, I was already committed to the Thor movie. I was in. What happened isn't that I changed, it's that Marvel has tried to produce so much after so much, and they're burnt out. They have this contract left, and this guy left, and that, and they're going to cross over to the multiverse, and all this other dumb shit, and it just doesn't work for me anymore. I was so emotionally invested in the story of Iron Man, and Captain America, and Thor then. Not anymore. The comedy, that's fine, but these movies lack stakes, and they lack any emotional investment. I personally went and saw the first Avengers 4 times in theaters because I was that into the movie. So hearing this financial news and comparing it to last week's Phase announcements, I have to wonder, our audience is actually going to turn up. They have 2 Avengers films coming in 2025, and if this trend continues, that might be an embarrassment. They might have to pull out Iron Man, which they probably already were. See, Marvel, if anything, they're very self-aware of their shortcomings. They're going to sell you to the nth degree on all these wonderful things that nobody watches. And if the box office numbers are really important in terms of driving growth, well then everything that Marvel's put out on Disney Plus really isn't doing much, and it's stupid for people to get all haughty and act like this is great entertainment and you're blah 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 if you don't like it. Folks, what I'm getting at is, people, stop shilling for Marvel. We're all fans. We don't have to like everything just because we, are still fans if we dislike it. I haven't liked the Spider-Man book in a couple years, but I'm still a big Spider-Man fan. But all these Disney Plus shows, they didn't do it for me. Shows like Ms. Marvel didn't do it for anybody because it had such a low viewership. And Marvel's future is full of heroes and characters that no one gives a fuck about. Do you care about Echo? Do you care about Ironheart? Really, what do you care about from Phase 4? She-Hulk Attorney at Law looks like a fucking joke. It looks like a show for women, and if you're a woman and you're into it, awesome. Tell me whatever you think down in the comments below. Whoever makes me laugh the most is going to win a no prize. All of this is interesting because we've just come off the heels of the visual effects article talking about how the artists are overworked, underpaid, and the movies are suffering at the box office in terms of quality of visuals. And I noticed that. For as much as I enjoyed Doctor Strange, there was some compositing that made me go, this is just them on a blue screen or a green screen. It took me out of the movie, long story short. And for years we've been told that Marvel is a premium brand, deserves a premium price, and now us, the audience, deserve a premium product. And we haven't been getting one for quite some time. And Disney, don't be cheap, because a show like Stranger Things blows yours out of the water. It's an unknown IP as of 4 to 5 years ago, and now it's the biggest thing on the planet. You guys can take the previous biggest things on the planet, make them bigger for a while, then once you strip mine them, you try to bring them back, and then you don't understand how they work anymore. One of the simple fixes would have been just to pay Robert Downey Jr. in perpetuity to get people to go back and see those movies. But putting him in a movie like Ironheart with Riri Williams, even though that's a TV show, wouldn't work, wouldn't get people excited, because according to these metrics, if it's on Disney Plus, there's no box office receipts to drive the brands. And that's interesting because I've seen another article talking about how Netflix has the same problem, how their properties outside of Stranger Things fail to get a foothold in society. They have these big shows like Squid Games that come and go, and then nobody talks about them for months, and they come back and they come and they go. Streaming shows don't have the same life. And isn't it great that Bob Chapek, current CEO of Disney during this wonderful time, has had his contract renewed for 2.5 more years? It's great that the guy at the head of the company, the one that owns everything, including your soul and your children, well, it's great that that inept asshole is going to keep making the great business decisions that help us get to where we are. Now, I'm aware, folks, of how long it takes to make a Marvel phase. I'm well aware that it wasn't Bob Chapek in control when Phase 4 was greenlit, and I get it. Why would you ever question Kevin Feige? The guy brought in $25 billion. But Marvel drained the well of their awesome characters, and now we're left with leftovers, B-listers, and bullshit derivatives that no one cares about. And so I, as a fan, am going to be interested to watch how far Marvel goes. So folks, tell me what you think about the Marvel slump. Have you read the Wall Street Journal article? Tell me what you think about it, and tell me what you think about Marvel films. 3 questions for today's video, folks. What is your favorite Marvel film? What is your least favorite Marvel film? And who is your favorite Marvel superhero? I'll tell you mine next time. But folks, if you like comics, and I know you do, check out my comics. Link is in the description below for Wokebusters. It's the comic that fights wokeness, all in a fun Ghostbusters style package. It's about 4 guys who start their own business, but instead of fighting ghosts, they fight these triggered beasts that have been popping up all over the country and tearing families apart, being ugly, really destroying the fabric of society, if you're into that sort of thing. The Wokebusters, well, they're here to stop all of that in the funniest comic of 2022. So, folks, check that out. Link is in the description below. And while you're waiting for Wokebusters and you want to get one of the shirts from Wokebusters, we'll go over to shopwcbs.com. We offer shirts from world-class bullshitters, Wokebusters, and some of our jokes. On the podcast, we have a game we play. It's called the Movie of the Week title, where one of the listeners will send in a super chat, and we will play an improv game where we try to come up with movie titles. And what we do now is, when one really good one comes up, we put it on a t-shirt. So we have RoboCoke Lines of Justice. And that thing's been moving, so grab one of those. But if you're really one of the cool kids, then you want to join the club. The Bullshit Club. Get the shirt down below. It's inspired by Stranger Things Season 4, everyone's favorite character, Eddie. He has the Hellfire Club, we have the Bullshit Club. And folks, accuracy is important to me, so I went out and I found a distributor, the one place that still had the same baseball shirts that Eddie and the real Hellfire Club wore on Stranger Things. So folks, the Bullshit Club shirt features the same cut, but a brand new, unique design that, well, appeals to us. Instead of demons and flaming swords, we got skulls and lightsabers and other shit. So if you're a geek, if you're a nerd, if you're into sci-fi, Star Wars, Star Trek, anything, join the Bullshit Club. Because just because you're a geek doesn't mean you can't start some shit. So, join the Bullshit Club and let them know what's up. Folks, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for watching all the new videos this week, and be on the lookout for more. Shout out to our new patrons as well. And folks, do us a favor. Go join our Patreon page if you enjoyed this content. It helps us grow the channel, and you get extra bonuses. You get video, audio, commentaries, and a lot more, and a direct line to us. So folks, join now. $1 a month helps, but $5, which is only 17 cents a day. And realistically, 17 cents a day isn't that much. Do something nice for yourself. Right now, it's hot out. The world's in an ugly place, people are fighting, but WCBS is your escape from all of that. So, there you go. And for 17 cents a day, I think you deserve that. So thank you for watching. Be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other.